Good morning. It's a travel day and things are a little bit disheveled here in Joy as I get ready to move into that drive mode because everything is still set up here, being in camp for several days, and so it's time to go ahead and bust everything down and start preparing to hop into the driver's seat and head off. So let's go through some of the prep that goes into getting ready to drive. So right now the computer, for instance, is in work mode. I have the computer monitor TV out and connected to my laptop, and so that's probably one of the first things that I'm going to do to get ready to head out, is disconnect my laptop. And I also have a mouse a cordless mouse that I use, and so I'm going to put the mouse pad and the laptop into its carrying case, which I have hanging from the passenger seat over here. So I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not, but I have to pull some coats aside, and then it's down here, and I just slip it in here. And that's where it travels. And then the screen here itself locks against the wall to keep it from flying around when I'm driving and whatnot. So I first have to just get the articulating joint in the right position to allow me to lock it. And basically all I have to do is just push it back and then just press it a little bit hard, and then it'll click into place. There it goes. Alright. This is just an HDMI cable and a charging cable. I've got a charger up here and an overhead electrical outlet, and then the HDMI cable that connects to the computer from the monitor is here. Those will just go ahead and stay there. And then I also have got my coffee cup. I haven't had my second cup yet, so there's that still needs to happen. But I also have the power supply for my computer, so I'll pull that, and that's going to go in the bin down here. And I'll disconnect the power strip that I have here, and that's going to also go down below. One thing I've found is that rubber bands are my friends, and so I have lots of them. I have a whole bag. I ordered a bulk bag of I think there are 3-inch rubber bands. They're pretty thick rubber bands, and that's good. I ordered a bulk quantity of them from Amazon before hitting the road, and they've been very helpful to keep things organized. And so here's a good example. Once I've wrapped up the cord here for the power supply for my computer, I just wrap a rubber band around it to keep it in place. That way it will travel a little bit more organized than just being a big wad of cable somewhere. I really feel like this space could be utilized so much better than it's being used right now. So I'm continuing to think about how that could be accomplished. But for now, the power supply for my computer will just go down in here. And the power strip that I use can go in here as well. and that's pretty much all I need to put in there for now. So we'll just close that up, and that's pretty much ready for travel. I am going to go ahead and get that second cup of coffee going. So let's get the water started here. And I do my little filter origami, my number 4 filter that I need to put into a number 2 pour over funnel. And so the bottom flat part of the number 4 filter needs to somehow come to a point. So that's why I do a little bit of origami on it. And there we go. Now it comes to a point. I can drop that in my funnel and put that on top of my coffee cup. And I will need some grounds. One, two, three-ish. And when the water boils, I'll be ready to go.
Few moments later.
Okay. Coffee is about ready. Okay, we're done with coffee, so the coffee service can be put away. That goes into a drawer down here. So, first of all, I will take my coffee and put that in place. The tea kettle can go right here. And the spoon can go right there. And then the pour over cone can go right there. Anything else I need to think about over here? No, that's it. That's how the coffee service looks when it's stowed away. That happens pretty much every day. I would love to have some better options for how to deal with the induction cooktop, but for the most part, I think all that can really be done with it is pull it out of its box when you want to use it, put it up here on top of the countertop and do your thing, and put it away when you're ready to travel. I, use this as my primary means of cooking. I do have a microwave, but I just really don't use that all that often. I don't find myself needing to reheat much of anything. But it does come in handy for that. It can also come in handy for thawing things that are coming out of the freezer, so it's not without its value, but as a primary cooking means, no, the microwave doesn't do that for me. It's the induction cooktop that's really my primary cooking device. And so, and another thing that I do with it frequently is take it outside and just go ahead and cook outside. At some point, I certainly hope that I'll get more into the outdoor cooking with either charcoal or just getting a wood fire going, especially when you're in the state parks. You get a little burn pit that you can do a fire in, and so cooking over fire would be a great thing. But for now, and even as I came into this park, this stay, there was a burn ban in effect. So sometimes you can't do cooking by fire. And so a device like this really comes in perfectly handy for that. But anyway, I did not throw away the box that this came in. So it becomes its storage container while traveling, and it really does make it much easier and protects it during travel. So that's the next thing, is to put that away. So I'm going to move that over here onto the lagoon table for a moment so that I can bring this over a little bit and maybe give you a better view of this, but not that it's hard or anything, but just kind of open it up. There's a couple of end pieces made of foam, which is really nice, and so I put those on. And then just drop it right on into the box. Stuff the electrical down in there. Close the flaps. Button it up. There we go. And now it's ready to go in its travel location, which is over here, next to the toilet. It's going to be difficult for me to do this one-handed, but I have to kind of turn it on its side so that it will fit back down in there, and then I just slide it down there, and yeah, that's almost impossible to do one-handed. There we go. Oh, I did it. How about that? Amazing. So, yep, that is its travel location. I first go ahead and put the little garbage strainer, I don't know, in here. And then I take the white bar rag that I typically have around, which I use for drying out the sink when it's wet, and wiping down the counters, that sort of thing. And I lay that down there, and then put my dish soap and my antiseptic, Germex stuff in here. And I've found that if I lay this down in here, it leaks. So, not a good thing. So, instead for that, I just open this up and stand it upright down here next to the trash, which I will be emptying before we head out as well. And then I put the cover back on. I might as well put this solo cup in here. There's no water left in it. And that goes there. This is a part of my coffee cup, so that will stay with the coffee cup. And then I just go ahead and put this out over here. It can just sit there while I'm traveling, and if any water should drip out of the faucet during motion, it'll be caught by the towel there. Okay, there's a lot going on over here that needs to be taken care of before we can hit the road. So first of all, up here in the upper two cabinets is where I store my Roku. And it's a Roku Ultra, which requires normal AC power. It has an AC adapter. It's this one right here with the wire coming out that I've just tucked under here, and it's kind of keeps it out of the way. But and then I use this rubber band to, again, rubber bands everywhere, to hold that door closed. Otherwise it will just swing open. And believe me, I've whacked my head on these open doors enough to be very, very leery of them. So the rubber band solution actually worked out to be kind of cool. I just hook it on the back side of this. As you can see, it's still hanging from it. I just hook it on this, and then it just comes around here, and then comes around and hooks onto that, and that holds the door closed. But anyway, I will take the rubber band off and just drop it in here. somewhere so that I'll know where to find it later. And then I have a lid for this container right here, which holds a lot of my, you know, commonly used things. It's kind of like my junk drawer that of commonly used items. So I just go ahead and get that sealed up, and I can put that up here. And then also I have this computer mouse, and I've made sure that I've turned it off. It's a wireless mouse, so I just turn it off so the battery doesn't die just from sitting there doing nothing, but still kind of maybe moving around a little bit from the motion of the car. But I have to, first of all, I have to disconnect the HDMI cable from the Roku. So the Roku, you probably won't really be able to see it. I don't know if I get in there, it just looks black. But the Roku, that's right here. So it's got, you know what, I'm going to try to turn on a light here. Maybe we'll be able to see better if I turn on the overhead light. Okay. Yeah, that's actually quite a bit brighter. Okay, so yeah, so the Roku is up here, and it's got an HDMI cable, and it's got its power cable. So I will disconnect the power, bring that out here, and as it's kind of tucked in between the cabinet plastic here and the soft vinyl under cabinet, I can just run it along here, and it just sort of tucks itself in there in that little space, and it's kind of perfect the way it does that. But then I disconnect the HDMI cable, and I don't disconnect it from the back of the Roku. I just sort of, yeah, if I can do it, just toss it back up there, and then that's that. There's a remote for the Roku right here, and I'll just go ahead and put that up on top of the Roku. And I think that's all I need to do for that. So now, no rubber band in place, no need for it, so they just close and latch, and we're ready to travel. While stationary, I take the quilt that I have here, which has some hooks, or well, some loops that I attach to the quilt that hook onto some hooks that are up along the top of the ceiling here, and I use that to block off the cab from the interior. Two reasons: number one, privacy; number two, it can hold colder temperatures or possibly hotter temperatures in the cab area from getting back into the living area. But for travel, of course, I've got to get that out of the way. And is this the right thing to have hanging here for this? Yeah, probably not, but it's something that I had, and it kind of works pretty well. So in order to get this prepared for travel, I kind of pull it out here and then unhook it from the far side. And then I leave these last two connected, because I'll just leave it hang here while we're driving, but it will be behind the driver's seat, so I won't even know that it's there. But it will have a place to hang around during the travel. And so now it's just a matter of trying to fold this a little bit. So I'll find the two corner pieces and get them together. And then one more fold to the middle. And that would be from this part. And then I can just kind of like take one of these. I can get a few of them hooked on up there. They're not all very secure, but it seems to work. They don't come off. And then once I've got them got the quilt organized and folded, I can just put it like that, and that's pretty much how it will travel. You can probably see my Starlink dish out on the pavement out there. And that's been a pretty good position because I've got a pretty good view of the northern sky. So Starlink has really been the way for me to go here while at Goliad State Park. But I also have this T-Mobile 5G home internet access point, and I apparently had it hooked up. It wasn't really being used, but it's not uncommon for me to stick it up here in the front windshield, where as long as the towers are somewhere out in front of me, that works really well. I can also put it in the back and just let it look out the back windows, and that works too if they're out there. Or I could even put it on the side here, maybe right here on the counter that's looking out the side window. Got a number of options in terms of placement to get the best signal, but this would have been the best position for it, but I was using Starlink. But anyway, it is plugged into a wall wart that's plugged into an extension cord down there. That you can see the orange extension cord. All I really need to do is just disconnect the power. I'll just drop this cable right there, and then where I store the T-Mobile box is right here in my little organizer in the front seat. And then just close that up. And yeah, we're pretty much ready to go with that. All right. It seems like I hardly ever get through my second cup of coffee in the morning on a travel day. So, and today's not going to be any exception. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get its little lid in place and put it down on the floor in the cab right there. And if I need a sip of coffee while I'm driving, there it is. I definitely do not want this lagoon table flopping around and maybe smacking into things while driving. So it's really important to kind of tighten this connection down, and that will keep it from keep this arm from allowing it to swing around. So I will just go ahead and tighten this. The way you do these lagoon table mounts is you kind of tighten them, and then you can pull them out and then turn them easily around, and then they sort of lock back in place, and you can continue to tighten if you need to, whatever. I'm going to get it pretty tight here. That's about as tight as I need it, but it's going to be pretty hard to move it now. But what I do is I use it to sort of lock the cushions in place, and I have this little backrest pillow, a little lounging pillow that I sort of pin with the table so that it doesn't go anywhere, and I keep one of its little arms up on top of the quilt to hopefully keep it from falling off onto the floor while we're in motion. And yeah, so that's how that all stows for travel. Yeah, it's getting warm. Although I think my outdoor sensor, which is reading 79.3 degrees, is probably out in the sun. As a matter of fact, it's right out on the edge of the door over here, and it is getting some direct sunlight. So I don't think it's 80 degrees out there. It might be in the 70s, though. But inside here, it's already climbed up to 79.5 degrees, so it's getting pretty warm. Time to open the door and maybe get some fresh air in here. But for travel, this has I've mounted a magnet to the back of this, and I just sort of stick it up on the refrigerator. It becomes a refrigerator magnet while we're traveling. And then the outdoor remote temperature sensor. Open the door here, and oh yeah, that feels nice. It's just sitting here on the side of the door. So I'll just take that off, bring it inside, and it too has a magnet mount that I've wrapped with white electrical tape just as a a way to protect the finish of the van. I don't want that magnet slamming right directly into the finish. That would not be good. So I wrapped it in the white electrical tape, and then I just go ahead and let that ride along as yet another refrigerator magnet. Joy really needs to get washed again. Okay, in order to prepare for travel, back here I need to do a few things. But even before I do a few things right here, this needs to get packed away in my Starlink satellite dish and all of its associated cables and its router. This is its router right here. So I'm going to take care of that right now. Okay, first things first. For Starlink, the dish must be stowed. You can't stow the dish once you've disconnected it from power. There's no way to drive it into its shipping position. So you got to go in through the app, find settings, and then stow. When I tap OK on my phone now, okay, we're now ready for travel. I can disassemble that whole arrangement there and prepare it to put it back in its box and prepare for travel. Power off. There's no on-off switch, you just have to pull the power plug. I don't really like that, but that's the way it works. Anyway, there is the router for Starlink. Put that aside for a moment. And then, yeah, in order to get this out, I've got it threaded through one of the ports that lead to the outside from the floor back here in the garage of Joy. And in order to get the cable out of there, I'm first going to have to move these. And in order to move these, I first have to get all this stuff out of here. It's just way too much work. I've got to figure out a better way to deal with this. This is just not good. So here we go. And as you can see, the Starlink cable is coming up through the port that Embassy provides in the floor here. I've stuffed it with a bar rag just to make sure that spiders and insects and whatnot don't come up through there, because you can kind of see through there. It would be very easy for critters to get up through there. And so now what I need to do is go ahead and pull this out. I guess I'll first push it down until I get close. And then hopefully I can pull it out of the bottom here without it smacking into the ground. It might anyway. Nope, it didn't. Yay. Okay, so now we are completely clear of the vehicle. So now I can go ahead and wrap that up. So now, over here, have to plug the hole with the cap that goes into this hole. And it's a little bit of a tight fit because I made it that way, but you can adjust it right here for looseness or tightness. But I've got it kind of as tight as I can get it without it being impossible to work with. And there it goes. Okay. And that can just go in the back there because that's fine. I'm going to Okay, before I forget, I need to reel in the Starlink cable, so I'll start to do that now. We'll go find a place to store it. We'll go up here too. My air compressor for adjusting tire pressures. Put that in, and against the wall, I'll stick my electrical cable in here when it's time. Heater and fan, which I've yet to use. It's still, the box is completely unopened. One day though, it will come in handy, I'm sure. And yet another water tote, which I don't tend to use much, but if I need to fill manually into the fill port for Joy's freshwater bladder, this has got a spout on it that and a little attachment that lets me get into the fill tube for Joy's water bladder, and then I can tip it up like that, and it will drain into Joy rather nicely. So this works out. Having this is a good idea. All right, there's now time to disconnect from power. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the breakers, and that disconnects my power watchdog as well, of course, since it now no longer has power. Probably heard it pop. And then I can just pull it out, and I'll close up the Parks box here, and then we'll go over here for a moment. I have a cover for that smart plug. They store in the driver's side door. So I just put that on there to protect it. And then, as it has been laying in the dirt here for a little bit, I'm going to use a rag to try and clean it up a little bit as I roll it up. And there we go. So now I take this and drop it in right here. And that will be just fine. The Power Watchdog has its own place inside. Okay. I'm noticing a little moisture on the wires here. Again, it was a little bit dewy. It was actually foggy this morning. It's kind of pretty outside. But I will go ahead and just wipe this off a bit. And okay, it looks like we might have had a spider nest starting to form in there. The spiders are everywhere, right? Okay. So now, where this is stored is under the refrigerator here. So I just pop this panel open and just let it dry down. And then just slip it in there like that. Fine, and then close. If I can get it in there right. Come on. You don't want to work that way, do you? Okay, that should be okay now. There we go. And latch, latch, and latch. All right, that is ready to go. All right, it's time to go through and make some final checks to prepare for departure. So I'm just going to make sure that all of the latches are latched. They won't all be yet because I haven't started this process, but now these tall cabinets are latched. You may notice these bottles here. Unfortunately, I don't really have a way of restraining them during travel, so they kind of just lay down like that. If one of them were to spring a leak because maybe they bounced too hard or something like that, then what can happen is that whatever's leaking out, this is the shower pan, and so the drain for the shower is right here. So, and it is in the open position, so anything that's leaking out of these bottles theoretically could just get into the drain and just end up down in the shower water holding system. So I'm not too worried about that, and I'm also not worried about that rag that just blew out of the hole over there. No worries, it can just sit there. And otherwise we're good. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the vanity light. That one will turn off from the front. Okay, so those are latched. The microwave is prepared to go. I always have its glass tray on a bar rag just for cushioning, and so it won't vibrate around too much. And yeah, so then that's ready to go. The top cabinets are all latched, so we're good there. Okay, one final thing that I actually haven't taken care of is preparing to empty the trash. So I'm going to do that now, and then we'll continue. One thing I forgot I was going to do before leaving the park today was completely dump my freshwater tank and then come over to the RV dump station, which is where we are now. And you can see the water flowing out of my gray water tank as we speak, or as I record this. And I just wanted to completely dump the entire system. I'll refill when I get to the next park. But continuing with our process, I also dumped the urine tank here, and got rid of the trash. I need to make sure that this shelf, the vanity shelf, is down. Otherwise that will absolutely fall during travel. So we'll get its skirt in place, and that's down. These are latched, and the upper and lower here are latched. And I'm still working on this. I'll latch those before we go for sure. And then those are latched. Those are latched. And everything else is ready to drive. So we are ready to go. All I need to do is complete dropping the gray tank, put away its hose. There's another video I have on how that all goes down. And then I'll be able to hop into the driver's seat and head for the park office, where we will check out and head for Buescher State Park, which is the next park on our route. Heading north out of Goliad.